Hey, Lon, how's it going?
Hi, Curtis. It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for doing the intro with me
Oh, I'm happy to chat.
on short notice. What's new with you? I've been loving Techniquely.
I've been loving making it. What's new with me? I am in the process of trying to write and plan a couple, and I'm actually really excited because we're trying to figure out how to do an episode that's about koji, and it's something I've not really worked with before, and so
Uh huh.
I don't quite know which bits to cover, how to make it appealing to people, but it's kind of a fun puzzle to play with. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right. If you don't know, we're talking to Lon Lamb from America's Test Kitchen, Cooks Illustrated, and the YouTube show Techniquely. I'm a sucker for a crispy potato, so I loved that episode.
Yeah, we ate a lot of potatoes that day, and no regrets.
Yeah, nor should you have any. Also, I'm in Daly City, California, which is kind of the Filipino capital of America in some ways. So the episode you just did on the main show with Lumpia was well received out here, I'm sure.
Oh, I hope so. For those who don't know, I am part of the cast of America's Test Kitchen, and you can find the show on PBS. And I got to present a recipe for lumpia, which I ate as a kid because at school, whenever there was a thing where students were encouraged to bring stuff for like a potluck kind of situation,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
there was always lumpia, and I loved it. I hadn't had it for quite a while actually, and so it was so much fun to work on that recipe and then to get to present it. It was kind of a hidden piece of my childhood.
Yeah. Someone in my family always brings it to Thanksgiving, and I have ruined several Thanksgiving dinners by filling up on lumpia before the main course.
You just can't stop with one.
You cannot. You cannot. Hey, we're speaking to one of your colleagues today. We are speaking with Sarah Ahn from Ahnest Kitchen, and she's going to be a published author very, very soon.
I cannot wait for folks to get their hands on her book. She and her mother and her uncle have worked so hard to
Hmm.
share their family recipes. And even for those who aren't sure they want to invest in the time or the ingredients, if you like reading cookbooks, it's just gorgeous. It's
It's
so gorgeous.
gorgeous. Yeah. And it's published by you guys. So did you test any recipes yourself, or did you see them testing it?
So I'm not part of the cookbook team, and so I didn't get a chance to do any of the cooking from or for during the development phase. But I did get to eat a lot of the food, and that might have been the best part.
Yeah.
It was a small team of people who worked on it. Carmen and Jose did a fantastic job, kind of taking these homey recipes and kind of translating
Mm,
them so
yeah.
that, no matter how much you know or don't know, the recipes are going to work for you. But they
Yeah.
are so delicious. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
sell this enough. I was very sad when they were done with development.
I think this is going to be a treasure and a definite resource for anyone interested in Korean home cooking, because your family might be similar too. Is we don't write stuff down. Like your grandma has never written stuff down, so this is kind of cool to see generational family recipes being sketched out or fleshed out into measurements and actual
Oh my
lists.
gosh. It's I don't know if folks understand the how much of an endeavor this was for Sarah and her mom because
Hmm.
you do things by instinct and you gather knowledge over the years, and trying to figure out how to write all of that information down, like understanding how to pay attention while you're cooking. It's kind of, if you're not trained in doing it, it takes so much time, and you sort of start to question everything you do. Like, I always do it this way. Do I need to do it this way? Am I sure? Somebody's
Yeah.
going to ask. How do I explain
Right.
this?
Yeah. And Sarah said her mom is like a machine. Like she worked in the industry for years and years, so she just whips stuff out. That's like her her superpower, basically.
Yeah.
And so they had to slow her down and say, hey, wait a minute. We need to write this down.
Right. And like, that's kind of a hard position for Sarah to be in, to be, Mom, why? Mom, why? Wait, no, you're going too fast. You have to stop.
Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be super exciting. I think it is April Fool's Day. It's coming out April 1st, everyone. So you can get a copy of this book. We're going to talk with Sarah in a second, but thank you, Lon, for coming on and speaking with us.
Oh, happy to. I can't wait to come back.
All right. Yeah, we'll have you on again. And so everyone out there, thank you for listening. And without further ado, let's talk to Sarah. We are back with another episode, another food episode, and this time we are talking with Sarah Ahn. She is the content creator behind Ahnest Kitchen and now a published cookbook author with her new book, Umma, available April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2025. So if you are listening to this before April, you got to wait a little bit, but it'll be available soon. So welcome to the show, Sarah Ahn.
Thank you, Curtis. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, me too. Yeah. When Carrie messaged me about talking to you, I was like, yeah, of course I want to talk to Sarah. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling from Orange County.
I've only spent a little bit of time and I realize I haven't spent enough time down there.
It's very different from LA. It's similar but different. And, there's a good Korean population there and here.
Mm-hmm.
But Orange County has always been my home.
Yeah. Lots of good food. I only was there for like 2 days and didn't get to experience that much, but some great Vietnamese food.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're saying great Korean food too. So I got to explore. All right. And we like to greet our guests in the Asian way. Now it's kind of early. It's only 5 p.m. our time. But Sarah, have you eaten yet?
I have not eaten yet. My mom is actually cooking something right now. I'm having like a Korean sweet and spicy chicken thing that she's making.
Oh, man.
Have you eaten?
I had lunch and then I had a little snack. Does that count? I don't know.
No, 100%. That counts.
Okay. No, I was gonna ask you, and we could do it now because we're talking about it. What does dinner look like at the Ahn household? Do you have the panchan? Do you have like a couple different things every single night?
Yeah, in my household, it's very traditional, and I grew up with that because my dad particularly loves traditional Korean food.
Mm.
So for us, it's always a minimum of 3 panchan, which are side dishes. And then you have your rice and soup right next to each other with your chopsticks and spoon. The spoon is always on the left side, chopsticks always on the right side, by the way. And then some sort of protein dish so that my dad, who works as a painter, not like an artist painter, but like he paints homes, so that he's nourished with enough protein and nutrition. And my mom will cycle out the panchan every day, and she'll make different ones. And so it's quite fascinating, but it's also something I just kind of grew up with that I realize is fascinating because other people have noticed it and said, this is so different than how my parents do it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So even other Korean Americans?
To some extent, because I've also learned that I always thought all Korean moms were like my mom, where they were all cooks and they all made food like my mom. But then they would be like, they would come over or they would see us at work and they would be like, wow, my mom has never cooked to that extent, or nor can she make it taste that good, but more so to that extent where they've never seen such surplus of just like my mom being like a machine making these foods. Because she's also an ex-restaurant owner, so and she cooked at the restaurant. And so she has this like stamina that's unlike any other.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've only seen her through reels on your Instagram, and
Yeah.
it all looks amazing. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I know you know this, but you are super lucky.
Yeah, I'm spoiled with food. I can't disagree with that.
Mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned this on your reels too, that you're not just out of college, but you're still living at home, which is not everyone is used to that. But I think for Asian households, I 100% agree with this. I think living at home is the best way to go.
Yeah, I actually had a video on that on my social channels discussing that, and it blew up because so many people agree with it, but it's such a weird stigma from what I learned only in America.
Yeah.
But like a lot of European countries, Asian countries, and other countries completely agree that it makes sense to live at home. I think there is, of course, disclaimers that come with it. Like both my parents are extremely chill. They've never enforced anything on me and have kind of been just been like, "Hey, Sarah, you can do whatever you want as long as you're respectful and you're a good kid." And that's kind of always been, especially my mom's, like the way she thinks and her way of raising us. And so I do think having parents that are fun to live with makes it much easier. But I also just I don't see what's the rush to move out if you're independent. I still pay some bills in my household. But
Hmm.
I'm able to invest that money and save, especially in California.
Yeah. Plus the home cooking. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. It's hard. Whenever I have a boyfriend and I hang out with him sometimes at his place, and I sometimes when I wanna go back home, I'm just like, I gotta go back home because this food's not cutting it."
yeah, no, I could see that would be a struggle for sure.
Sure.
How about going back to your childhood a little bit? Like, if we saw a 12-year-old Sarah on, would there be any hint that you might be doing content creation or food stuff in your lifetime as a career?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think so, because when ever since I was like a 5-year-old, I would always pick up our video camera and record and just make fun videos, and my parents had actually encouraged me when I was around middle school, 12 years old, to maybe consider studying film and editing in college, and at that time, social media wasn't it wasn't a thing at that time. People
Hmm.
didn't make
Hmm.
careers out of it. There was no social media manager roles at that time. Um, and so when they encouraged me going into high school to study film and pursue this editing career, which is where my heart was at, I couldn't do it because my parents, they've only had pretty much like blue collar jobs. And I really feared the instability of being a starving like artist.
Yeah.
So I didn't pursue it, and I pursued something completely different from what my passions were, and so I think my 12-year-old self would eventually realize I did come back to where my heart is at, but I did take the traditional stable route that I often think about.
So you're now currently working for America's Test Kitchen as one of their social media managers. Which started first, working for them or Honest Kitchen?
Honest Kitchen did. So Honest Kitchen started because when I got a job, so I studied public health, and then I got a tech job in this health tech company, um, and I just completely felt miserable. I was like, "This is
Uh-huh.
not what I wanna do for the rest of my life," and that's when I started Honest Kitchen, and it was my escape. But then it was also I figured as a Korean American who is unfortunately not completely fluent in Korean,
Mhm.
my parents only speak Korean, and I can only speak to them at a preschool level. There's I like to call it Konglish. I speak to them in Konglish, which is English.
Yeah.
Um, but I realized, like, if I'm already losing the ability to speak Korean as a Korean American
Mm.
raised by 2 very Korean parents, what is it going to be like the next generation where they may not even be aware of how to make kimchi?
Mhm.
Where maybe it's just their natural instinct to buy kimchi and not make it. So I realized how important it was to learn my mom's recipes, and I initially, archived it all in my personal, like, handwritten notebook. I
Oh.
realized this is way too messy, especially because Asian parents, we don't use measuring spoons, so there's just so many scribbles and whatnot. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you can relate to that.
No, 100%. Yeah.
So I decided to put it on a website, a blog, and then slowly people were able to find the recipes, and I kind of had a community on the blog, and that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, and well, how was the growth? Like right now, just looked today, 671,000 followers on Instagram and thousands more on TikTok as well. But was the growth slow or was it kind of an instant hit?
It was an instant hit the instant I put storytelling and my mom in it. Yeah, previous to that, it would just be me showing the recipes, and I would say it took a couple years to really hit it off, but once I just let go of what everyone else is doing and just followed my heart, which was to tell a story, um, and to show my mom who is, who is the mastermind behind all these recipes, people instantly followed. And it was specifically the video where I took my mom to Korea after 30 years. That blew up, and then the next day I had over like 30K followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. Everyone can go check it out. Instagram or TikTok on Honest Kitchen. It is so fun and cute. Now, to us, it looks fun and cute. Is it easy to work with your mom, or was it a little bit of an adjustment, putting the camera in her face and having her actually narrate and talk things through? Was that a challenge, or was that super easy for you guys?
No, it's super easy in terms of filming my mom. I think she just has to cook the food. Like, she doesn't do anything, but like, she's so quick with developing recipes. Like, in our cookbook, when we develop the recipes, it was like watching her dance as she put a pinch of this, threw in some of that, and
Yeah.
you could just see it develop in seconds. So seeing her develop recipes, that's her own talent that she has. And recording her is very simple too. I would say the storytelling parts that actually carry a lot of depth and emotion, like when I'm recording those voiceovers, those voiceovers take me the longest. Like, the voiceovers can take me up to 6 hours, where I don't write a script. Like, I just truly speak from my heart. Like, those ones kill me the most. And I have this video that's going to come out very soon where it's talking about my dad, which I don't talk much about him because it's like my biggest, I don't know even what the word is, like my weak point, I guess. That's not
Your
the right
Achilles
word.
heel.
Yeah, Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And I just know that voiceover is going to take me a couple days to do because it's so much emotional power that like I spill into the content that I make.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. In some ways, super easy, but in other ways, a labor of love. Like, really working.
Really.
Can we watch a reel or two together? And I'll put the sound on. We are audio only, but I'll put the sound on. Is there anyone that you in particular think people really resonated with?
It's the ones from last year before I did the cookbook when I committed more to it. One of my biggest insecurities is a good one.
Yeah, I thought that was good. You want to watch that together?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of my biggest insecurities as someone who is 100% Korean is that I am not fluent in Korean. It doesn't really make sense because both my parents only speak Korean, and the only way I can communicate with them is through Konglish, which is Korean and English combined. You can see me speaking Konglish with my mom here.
화장실 한데 어디? 화장실? 근데 난 몰란 거야. 어떻게 시스템가 어떻게 된 거야? 근데 아줌마가 줄이 안에 있는데 그냥 화장실 가서 door open 거 그냥 가져가 이렇게 했어. 가져가서 여기 토이let 페이퍼 가져야 돼. 토이let 페이퍼 하나만 있어. 가진 거.
I often have to pause the conversation and check in with my parents to see if they understand what I'm saying, and sometimes I even have to use a translation app. It's kind of crazy that in my entire life, I haven't been able to have a full conversation with them in a fluent language.
For example, I recently gave a speech at Korea's version of TED Talk, a 20-minute speech that was a 9-page essay that I had written for months. And there was no way I could present it to my parents because I could only write it and present it in English. When we presented it at the talk, which was in Busan, Korea, my mom was in the audience and she was able to read what I said on the translation. My parents were in complete shock because this was their first time understanding everything I was saying in its full context and intellect. My dad felt a lot of emotions with it. He watched the whole weekend, like 20 hours straight. And it was at this moment I realized that I really need to become fluent in Korean.
That's cool. I mean, not cool. That's very touching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. Well, my parents were born here, so we all speak English. But there was a time when I went over to China and Asia and just felt so handcuffed by not being able to speak, and so frustrating, at times.
And in a way also judged by our own people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Like I took Chinese in college,
Yeah.
and it was all Asian kids who were almost fluent. Like I thought they were fluent, and me and one white guy. And whenever the white guy would say something, everyone would be like, "Oh wow, so good, so good." And then whenever I would say it, they would be like, "Oh, that sounds so terrible." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Hey, I'm just as American as that guy because I didn't grow up hearing it, but it was like something about it,
for
the fact
sure.
that we look Asian, we should be able to speak it, but that's
Right,
not always the case." Yeah.
right.
So how's it going? Are you taking classes? Are you taking lessons? Or
I did take Rosetta Stone, but then I got busy with the cookbook,
yeah.
so I had to put a pause on that. But it is my ultimate goal to become fluent in Korean when my parents are still healthy and, alive,
Hmm.
because I really don't have an excuse. Like, for me, I live at home, my parents are fluent in Korean. Why am I not fluent in Korean? It's a great question.
The
Um,
words are
yeah,
probably in there. Like I bet if we hypnotized you, I bet we can get the words out of you.
I think so too. I mean, I can get by speaking it again at preschool level, but oh man, it's just not fully there though.
But see, the thing is, your parents will understand a little bit of English, so you throw it in there instead of
Exactly.
struggling.
Yeah.
All right, so several years doing the blog and the Instagram page. And then when did the idea, let's see, so you're working at America's Test Kitchen. So they published the book.
Mhm.
Did they approach you or did you approach them?
That's a good question. Um, it's actually a interesting story. Multiple cookbook publishers reached out to me, and I don't even know if America's Test Kitchen knows this, but I was going to go forward with one publisher after negotiating with them for several months.
Mm,
Um, and we had come down to me just having to sign the contract. And so I just needed to review the contract. I printed it. I went to the gym and I brought it to the gym in my hand to read the contract once more before I signed it.
mm,
And as I was leaving the gym, I get a notification from Jack, who was our CCO at that time. And he emailed me and said, "Hey, Sarah, have you ever been interested in doing a cookbook with us?" And I was like, at that same moment, I was going to just sign the contract.
wow.
And I knew right away that America's Test Kitchen was the way to go because their cookbooks are unbelievable and well made.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so they approached me first and then kind of went on from there.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Like in your introduction of your book, you mentioned, you had the test kitchen team behind you, and what a great team to have, right? If you're gonna recipe test.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was I truly don't think that what we developed together, my mom and I and ATK as the publisher and all the people that they have, the cooks, the photography team, the designers, the editors, it was just everyone was just a beast and they pour their heart and souls into it with the institution ATK has, developed these past like decades.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I don't think we could have produced what we made with our cookbook, with any other publisher.
yeah. No, I agree. I could see their fingerprints on it as I flipped
Yeah.
through it for sure. And and I've watched them for 20 years or so, and they've grown, as not just in numbers, but when I first started watching early 2000s or really early on, there wasn't a lot of people that look like us on that show,
Yeah, for
and not
sure.
a lot of recipes that were from people who grew up eating those foods. So it's cool to see, our friend Lon Lamb, and everyone over there, of course, and they're doing more authentic recipes from family cooks and family recipes, and I love to see that.
Me too. And Lana and her series on YouTube technically is just she's killing it. She's
Right?
amazing.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we audience out there, well, maybe we'll get her on the introduction, but yeah, Lon was supposed to be here to throw in some cooking questions, but I'll try to carry on without her. But shout out to Lon who got sick at the last minute. But let's talk about this book.
Mhm.
Umma, a Korean mom's kitchen wisdom and 100 plus family recipes, on sale everywhere. You can pre-order now. I think there's a little discount right now too. If you go on some of these sites, it's a little bit discounted, but it's going to be available everywhere April 1st, 2025. No joke, no April Fools. That's
No April Fools. It's real.
It's real. It's happening. How are you feeling? Are you scared? Are you excited? What's going on?
I'm extremely excited because I'm very confident in what we made, and my mom and I are so proud of this book.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for everyone to see it and hold it and read it and love it.
Yeah, you definitely should be. It's a huge accomplishment. I
Mhm.
actually got my just in time for this interview. I got my copy today.
Amazing.
It is amazing. It is not just, recipes. It's not just lists and ingredients and steps.
Mhm.
Every single recipe has a picture. Every single recipe has a story.
Mhm.
And then there's buying guides. You take your mom how to pick produce, and of course how to make all these things and all the ingredients you might need. How did you get these 100 recipes? I'm sure it was a little bit of a challenge to narrow it down.
Yeah, so we narrowed it down in a thing called the TOC, which is the table of content. And that took my mom and I a very long time because
Sure, yeah.
what do people want, you know? And so I realized I asked a poll on my Instagram stories, and the people who participate in those polls helped so much. I asked them, like, would you want a cookbook that is just panchan side dishes, or would you want a cookbook that covers everything? And 75% said everything. And so that's when I realized that we need to make a cookbook where we still honor the traditional recipes, but we sprinkle in some newer recipes in there.
Yeah.
So there's a good mix of traditional recipes that we really wanted to just honor and make it the way that our ummas, our moms would make it, and our grandmas would make it, and making it the best possible recipe to date. But then we also sprinkled in modern recipes like kimchi grilled cheese and Korean lunchbox cakes, which are like these little mini cakes, and some fun recipes like corn latte.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, it's great. It's a great mix. And I have to admit, I love Korean food, but I always order the same 5 or 6 dishes every time I go. And just flipping through your book, I'm not gonna lie, I got about halfway in before I saw a dish that I actually tried before. So there's a lot of new stuff out there for people to try, and I love it.
It has everything that you would want, especially if you cook a lot of Korean foods. And I think the amazing thing is that when we retested all the recipes, after everything was done, we retested all the recipes like it is in the book, how it's presented in the book. And each time we're just like, we can't beat this recipe. Like it's perfected.
It's
And
ironclad, yeah.
they all have a touch of my mom in it. So you can really taste the mother's love in the recipe.
Mm. There's a term, I think you mentioned this in the book, of course. Sonmat, or how do you say it?
Sonmat, yes.
Sonmat.
Sonmat, yeah.
What is that?
It's son is hand and mat is taste. So it's hand's taste. And it's a saying in Korean where if he or she has sonmat, it's typically she because a lot of the Korean foods was rooted from Korean mothers making them. If she has sonmat, it means she has this innate talent and flavor within her hands that go into the food.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I saw a video just today of a guy who hadn't seen his mom in, I don't know, a decade or something like that. And he tasted her food and knew right away that it was his mom's cooking, like they were trying to surprise him. And
Oh,
he was like, "Oh, is this food from my hometown?" And then he took another bite. He goes, "Wait a minute.
oh
This
my
is
God.
yeah, right?" So that's what you're talking about, right?
Exactly,
This
exactly.
certain thing that comes from the soul, comes from the love. in-
Yeah.
into
It's
the
crazy because I was just in the Boston office, the ATK office, and we did a gochujang tasting for our taste test series on YouTube for America's Test Kitchen. And I've only tasted gochujang that you get at the Korean market, like the one that comes in the red tubs. But then my mom, when we explain this in the book, my mom's mom, my grandma, she made gochujang, soy sauce, fermented soybean paste, all from hand, and all Korean households did this back then. And I've never tasted the real gochujang that's made by the hands of the women who always fermented these foods. And it's something I've always wanted to try, but I've only tried supermarket ones. But in the tasting, they had it was a blind tasting. They had artisan brands where it's traditionally made like the way my grandma made it. And without knowing, because again, it's a blind tasting, I tasted it and I immediately said, this is something that I imagine my grandma made. Like, I think this is something that, like, this is what gochujang tasted like back in the day.
Yeah.
And like, you just know,
Huh.
it's just in your roots to know, like, this is the real thing from my hometown that
Yeah.
my ancestors made back then. And it was
Yeah.
really amazing.
That's cool. No, I believe in that. I totally believe in that, like there's something about it when your mom cooks something or it's something that's passed down, it just tastes different and it's different than anyone else in the world. And
100%.
yeah, that's really cool. Do you think, well, this is kind of a side topic. When you go to a restaurant versus what you cook from the cookbook, would we be able to taste the difference? What might we taste?
Well, like you said, the restaurants, they're missing the sonmat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think I don't mean it in a pretentious way where like I'm trying to be like my mom's food is so much better than restaurants, but I think objectively any person who grew up with a Korean mom that cooks with love, you can taste it in the food that is otherwise a bit harder to find at restaurants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree. Even just maybe subtle things like ingredients, of course, and the way you cut vegetables or the amount of salt, like all that stuff just adds up into something a little different experience.
Exactly.
So when we're eating these, if I were to cook some of these recipes tonight, do you feel like it's tested enough where it would taste like almost what your mom could make?
I think so, because there's all these tips in there. Like if you look at the book, it says like Umma's kitchen wisdom, if I'm not mistaken. And it gives you the tips of my mom guiding you of what to do when you make it, what to shop for. So even if you don't have the sonmat that some Korean moms have, you're going to get closest to it with the recipe
Okay.
that they can make.
Yeah, no, I trust you on that one. I'll take your word for it. Just for fun, you did mention some more contemporary recipes. You said one of the hardest ones for you to get perfect was the kimchi grilled cheese. Can we watch that video together?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that one.
We were not expecting that.
You were like, it's just bread and kimchi and cheese, right?
Exactly. That's what we thought.
That's the funny surprises in life. And true story, so shout out to my friend Holly. She posted a picture of herself trying to make this too. And she said it's really good. And she also said it's very difficult sometimes.
Oh, was it our recipe or just in general?
No, offer your reel. Yeah, offer your reel.
No way. Amazing.
Yeah, no, you're making the rounds, man. You're hugely popular. Okay, let me share my screen.
The hardest recipe to develop in the book kind of came to us by surprise. It features kimchi, and it is definitely a Korean American dish. And this was us when we finally found out it was perfect. If you haven't caught on, it was kimchi grilled cheese. We would have never thought in a million years this would be the hardest recipe to develop, but I think that when you make fusion food and you combine two cuisines, you have to be much more mindful than you would expect. I mean, if you think about it, we're combining the tangy, punchy flavors of kimchi with the American ingredients, bread, cheese, and butter, which requires a lot of balance. And we found that butter, not sesame oil, was the perfect fat to saute the kimchi in. It's also important that you season the kimchi again, otherwise the kimchi kind of gets muted amongst the cheese, butter, and all that. In particular, the gochugaru seasoning is very important because it not only adds the flavor back in, but it also draws out the moisture and prevents the bread from becoming soggy. And speaking of the bread, you want to use any sturdy rustic bread like sourdough and toast it in butter and cover with mustard cheese. I'm laughing because we spent over $100 trying to find the perfect cheese, and by far, Munster was the best. Add additional seasonings, and what shocked me here was that my mom added in raw green onions, which made me realize this is the missing ingredient we never knew we were missing. It definitely infuses the sandwich with a freshness that is otherwise missing but much needed. Then toast a bit more and sprinkle with a bit of sugar to really balance it out and create the perfect kimchi grilled cheese.
Nice. It's like watching an artist.
No, absolutely. That's one of the recipes where I just saw my mom at work just being quick with it and be like, all right, this isn't it, next. And I think, oh man, that recipe was so frustrating, but so fascinating to make.
Yeah, no, it looks great. It looks great. All right, so everyone out there, go get a copy of this book. Go cook some of these recipes. There are some, I swear to you, there's going to be a lot of things you've never heard of in there, as well as some classics, kalbi and, kalbi jjim, all the classics you might expect from a Korean cookbook. But there's going to be things in here that you've never even heard of or tasted, and definitely worth a try. What was the most memorable part about writing this book?
I would say the stories. And so within each chapter and within each recipes, there's these heavy hitting stories and essays. That's not just with the recipe, but it's its own page dedicated to that. And I think the most memorable thing that and I guess it's kind of embarrassing to say that it shocked me, but was the realization that there was a person that I didn't know but got to know before my mom became a mom.
Yeah.
I only know her as Umma.
Right.
But then I got to see and live through the recounts of stories she told me of when she called her mom Umma and when she was a daughter and not married, and her perspective of what her mom went through and what she witnessed and just her overall thoughts with all of that. And that shaped a lot of the stories in the book that will probably make you cry. But also I just respect my mom so much more, and her mom as well, and just the birth of many Korean recipes that came from my mom's generation.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put it on the coffee table and read it in your spare time, but also bring it into the kitchen and cook some of these things too.
Absolutely. I recommend maybe getting 2 copies so you can read at the coffee table, but also bring it to the kitchen.
There you go. Everyone get 2. Get a 2-pack. All right, Sarah, you have survived our difficult questions. We have a new segment here. We used to call it the lightning round, but I realized we like to talk too much during the lightning round, so it wasn't really fast. So we rebranded. We now call it our YAO, which stands for Your Asian Opinion. So I want your Asian opinion on some things. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite banchan?
Oh, it would be, in my family, we call it cilantro kimchi, but in the book, it's called seasoned cilantro radish struts.
Okay.
And it's a recipe from North Korea that my mom learned from her own mother.
Okay. Does your mom have roots in North Korea before the war?
No, my mom was born in South Korea, but her mom was born in Northern Korea, and then they immigrated down to South Korea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So kind of like a cilantro kimchi.
Yeah, that's what we call it at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's in the book?
It is.
All right. Give us in a few sentences why everyone should be eating kimchi.
Because it's damn good. That's it.
Yeah.
Not for the probiotics reasons like they market it in some grocery stores. No Korean, we don't eat it. Like if you ask us, why are you eating kimchi? We don't say, oh, it's for the probiotics. It's damn good.
It's good. Yeah. And do you think if I put a lineup of kimchi in front of you, could you taste your mom's? Could you pick it out of a lineup?
That's so funny because I'm actually going to make a video of that.
Okay.
Dude, on Ahnest Kitchen.
Okay. So
I'm going to test my mom with that too. I want to get a lineup of different brands and do that. And I need to do that as soon as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll wait for that one. I wonder. You think you can?
It'd be such a shame if I can't.
Yeah. What if you go with like the cheapest, local one?
Yeah.
Oh well. Okay. Well, maybe if that happens, the reel may not make it to Instagram.
Exactly.
All right. So I think Trader Joe's has some good Korean food, but she gave me the side eyes. Is there anything at Trader Joe's that is passable for Korean food?
Okay, so we did post the Trader Joe's kimbap, which went super viral, and it sold out the kimbap, and people weren't able to buy it for a couple months. That used to be good, but we tried it recently, and it's not good anymore.
Oh no!
So I want it changed because it's not good anymore. But the Trader Joe's beef bulgogi is actually extremely good.
Oh,
we would give it an A+ rating.
Really?
Yeah, I I don't know what else to recommend because that product, like I speak very highly of it and we highly recommend it.
A+.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No, all right. So Trader Joe's bulgogi
Yeah.
out of the freezer section.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. So what K-pop or K-drama celebrity would you love to cook with someday?
So I actually don't really listen to much K-pop, but I do watch some dramas. My mom watches a lot of dramas, so I see a lot of actors on the screen.
Uh-huh.
And I would do it with my celebrity crush, who is Kong Yu. He
Uh-huh.
is the and he's in Squid Games. He's the one that
Yeah.
recruits people.
Yeah. Yeah. No. You are definitely not alone. There are many people out there who would love to meet. I heard he's a Warriors fan
Oh, I didn't know that.
up here in the Bay Area. He's come out and watched Steph Curry. I think he likes Steph Curry.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So maybe if you follow him, maybe he'll show up in Oakland and you have to or the Bay Area and you have to fly
I
up
hope
here.
so. I think he's very handsome.
Have you seen the new one called The Trunk
No,
on
what is that?
Netflix? It is a weird premise, and he is fantastic. All the actors in that one are fantastic. It's kind of a creepy thriller, but it's really well acted, and he's great. He's great.
I
in
will
it.
watch that. Thank you. I'm looking it up, and it came out in 2024, so it's fairly new.
Yeah. And he's not kind of the typical confident guy. He's more of a simpy kind of lost man-child in this one. So
Oh, wow. So he's like not the main like alpha type character.
the alpha is his wife, his ex-wife. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You go check it out. I think you'll like it. He does a great job in it. Do you like thrillers at all, or kind of creepy things a little bit?
I love thrillers.
Okay, yeah. Definitely do it. Put it on the list.
I will do that. Thank you.
All right. And the signature question is, who is your infatuation, which is anyone in the Asian community, living or deceased, that you admire. You're already smiling. I feel like I might know your answer to this one. Sarah, who is your infatuation?
What do you think my answer is?
I was going to say either mom or dad.
It's my grandma,
Okay.
who is called Harmony in the book. I try to think of a celebrity or someone, that a lot of people admire, but my answer always comes down to her. And there's a essay in the book where I talk about if I could have dinner with anyone in the world, it would have been her. And her character is really brought to life within the pages of the book because she's such an admirable person that I never got to know.
So you've never talked to her, or?
I met her once when she came here once, but she was very ill. So I was only like 4 or 5 years old, and there was a big communication barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never got to know her, but the stories my mom told of her, just her resilience of, she lost her baby son. She would make all this kimchi for everyone, and she was the main breadwinner in her household. And there's a beautiful story in there where you have to kind of read between the lines, but she was a very busy woman trying to, make sure her family was fed. And she didn't really have time for herself. She lost her son, but despite all the hardships she faced, she had a garden that she planted. And the garden, because they lived in such a small home, they didn't have like a front yard or anything. She had to plant her flowers and all of that on the rooftop. But if you kind of read between the lines, it's like such a beautiful thing because she would have to go up these steps every day to go look at her plants. And that's kind of the type of person she was, where even though she couldn't see it conveniently, while drinking coffee in her front lawn,
right.
She would go up the steps and admire her plants every day and just stand there.
Oh, man. I love her too. I've never met her and I love her already.
You can meet her within the book.
Okay, I'll read up on that. And those were tough times for Korea, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
We look at Korea now, we're like, oh, it's metropolis, coffee shops on every corner. But, that whole "did you eat yet?" that was a statement of concern for people back then,
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, back then, it's just so crazy that they my mom only ate kimchi and rice. Like, she didn't know there was foods outside of that. And
Yeah.
to make like those kimchi, they would pick up scraps of napa cabbage from to make some of the soup dishes, you would have to pick up the scraps of napa cabbage that farmer markets had sold. Um, it's just insane how much the country has transformed. And
Yeah.
now we have an idea what Korea is like, but it just 2 generations ago, 1 to 2 generations ago, it was completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, kimchi wasn't a delicacy. It was you had to preserve it because the growing season in Korea was so short, and you had to ferment stuff just to keep yourself alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man, thank you so much for talking to us, Sarah. This has been great, and a huge congrats to you. I think you're not even 30 yet, and this is sort of like a work of a lifetime. I mean, this is kind of your legacy, yeah?
I'm turning 30 this year.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess so. I'm so proud of it, and I'm so excited for everyone to have the book and read it.
Yeah, can't wait to cook through it. Amazing, amazing. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. You can find Sarah on social media over at Ahnest Kitchen. It's spelled Ahnest. Let me say it again. You can I'll put all the details in the show notes, but you can follow Sarah on social media at Ahnest Kitchen. It's her last name, Kitchen. I'll write it out for you. It's hard for me to spell here. And go get a copy of Umma now. It ships on April 1st, but you can pre-order now at most of the big websites, or make sure your local bookstore gets a couple copies of it so you can support them as well. And we'll give a shout out to Lon as well, too. Go check her out on YouTube. Her Technically show, like you said, so good. I think of her all the time when I'm in the kitchen, all the little tricks that she gives us.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And you can follow her at Lon_cooks. And for us, you know how to find us. You can find us at Infatuasian Podcast on social media, or you can write to us at infatuasianpodcast@gmail.com. We'll put all these details written out for you in the show notes. But so Sarah, thanks for coming on with us and spending an afternoon.
Likewise, thank you so much, Curtis, for this talk. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no. Are you coming to the Bay Area at all on the book tour?
We are.
Okay.
We come.
All right, so check the Instagram, find out. So yeah, I might slide into line to get my copy signed when I see you. All right, so everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you hanging out with us and talking a little Korean cooking. And so until we talk to you again, on behalf of Sarah, Lon, and myself, we hope that you're all happy, healthy, and safe out there. Talk to you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.